Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a little while. We're back. We've done some rebranding. We basically decided that our podcasts were too long, and we're gonna try and take a different approach with it, and still have fun. But today it's going to be a more serious topic, as some people may have seen in the news with the basically protest crackdown bill and what's going on with that.
Yeah.
It's a heavy topic, and Luke suggested it the other day that we talk about it. So we were like, fuck it, do it. And I've got some extreme views on this. Not extreme, but fucking heavy, strong views. But Fo's done the most reading on this, so he's going to kind of introduce the bill and what it is and what it's saying, basically. So Fo, I'll leave it over to you.
So I definitely wouldn't say I've done the most reading on the bill itself, but I've done like the most. So it's probably that you guys have gone a bit more in depth. I've gone a bit broad, and I've looked at all the other stuff that happened because during 2020 protests were not uncommon by any means. Like you look across the world, there's like in America and then soon worldwide there were the Black Lives Matter protests because of the deaths of George Floyd. Well, I should say murder of George Floyd, but then there were protests in France last autumn over security laws because the French government were trying to implement facial recognition technology over so for protests people could then have their faces scanned through facial recognition technology when they show up on CCTV, and because of that they can then be arrested post protest if they're deemed too disruptive. And that's just a couple of the major countries. There have been stuff going on in Asia, like Pakistan, India. There's been a lot of stuff going on for women's rights, violence against women, because of Sarah Everard. It's sparked a whole global phenomenon against, for sorting out the crimes against misogyny, because law enforcement fails to provide adequate support. So because of this, the UK government, well, more specifically Priti Patel, she's seen that because of, with highlights on the Extinction Rebellion protests in London, where people were gluing themselves to trains, wasn't it 2 people glued themselves to the outside of Jeremy Corbyn's house because they wanted to gain his support, and
Okay.
the Extinction Rebellion basically claimed Jeremy Corbyn as the political figure they support. So but then the main thing was that they were causing disruption, is the reasoning that they gave, because they were gluing themselves to trains. They were there was a person that got himself stuck on purpose in the revolving door of a Shell office. So because of that, Priti Patel has said that people were finding gaps in law and exploiting these gaps in law, and to counter that and to combat that and to ensure that there is public civility, she's implemented these new laws. And she said, and I quote, a balance has to be struck between the rights of the protester and the rights of the individual to go about their daily lives. So I'm going to give my views on this a bit more as we discuss what the bill entails. But from the get-go, it looks quite imposing. It's she is coming in with very hard and fast laws, and it does seem very rushed with the way she's gone about the bill, even if it has been in motion since the Extinction Rebellion protests. Bills usually take years, if not a decade and bit, to pass in some cases. She's definitely rushing this because she feels she needs urgent fixes. So we'll talk about what the bill actually is and how it'll affect our day-to-day lives, and then more importantly, our right to protest.
Spot on.
Good introduction, Boaz and Mike. Nice one.
This is concise. This is the whole new Brandon. It was just concise as fuck. So basically, with the passing of this bill, it's in a second reading now, so it's going to have to get amended again. But this is the basis of it, and the whole key point of it that everyone's is saying is obviously the fact that chief police police chiefs have the right, and basically it's at their discretion as to what people can do in terms of protesting, with how long they can protest, how much noise they're going to protest. Even if it's one person and they decide it's too loud or too long, they can arrest them and fine them up to $2,500, which is crazy. But what we were saying beforehand, we did have a talk about this beforehand, and we were saying what's most disturbing about this is they've basically taken some good aspects that really need passing and chucked them all in with some really bad ones to basically, it's a catch-22, right? So you've got these good ones that you really want to pass, like the things with child murderers and things like that. But then you've got, if that gets passed, you've also got these fucking shit.
You can't accept the bill, but you can't reject the bill
Yeah,
either.
in essence, they've made it impossible for anyone to be truly happy with it.
Yeah,
because you've got stuff that really should have always been law, like the being able to hold religious leaders and sports coaches to the same level of power as like teachers, etc. So like they can't take advantage of people that they have power over. Like that should have always been something that should have been a law. Like it makes no sense that it's never been a law. So that in itself is incredible that it's finally been passed. But yeah, taking away people's rights to protest is something that is unforgivable, essentially.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run through quickly what BBC News I've got as the additional to the lockdown protest crackdown bill. So they've got as what else is the legislation proposed, and it's the changing sentencing rules for serious criminals to spend more time in jail before they can be conditionally released, which can be good, but also, like I said to you guys beforehand, ambiguous as to what serious crimes are in the first place. Like I said, with certain things like drug possession and marijuana, which is legal in America, they can now possibly give higher sentences before parole and stuff like that, which we can get into as we talk the negatives of the bill. Judges will be able to consider jailing child murderers for their entire lives. Fantastic. Who the fuck murders a child? You deserve to be in prison your entire life. And then maximum sentences for low-level assaults against emergency services workers doubled. Again, it's a good bill to pass because these are people that are helping people, and and so fair enough. On terrorism, the bill creates power to closely monitor offenders released from prison. This is something that I want to talk about when we start talking about a police state as such.
Look, I just want to say, kind of in support of that, we've kind of seen the attacks on Tower Bridge and stuff like that, where it's been people who just got out of jail. Maybe not jail, but some form of detainment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone and committed a terrorist act. I mean, I don't think that's maybe closer monitoring is the only solution. That's definitely not the solution.
Well, with regards to terrorism, they've added they've allowed 18 to 20-year-olds to receive maximum sentences for terrorism as well now. So like they've cracked down on younger terrorists having a lesser sentence for their crimes. So paired with what Mike's just said, I suppose it's a step forward.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that the reason I want to talk about it is because some people can argue with terrorism, at least, you shouldn't be able to have surveillance on people, this and that, but also within doing that, it can save more lives. So it's, like I said,
well, again, it's the right to privacy, isn't it?
That's it. It's just that fine line you draw, and that's what happened in France, isn't it? Because it initially started off as closely monitoring people that they considered threats, like political threats or terrorist threats. But now because that was allowed to happen, now it's been implemented in protests and riots, and that's been used to arrest people post-protest, and that's why there were more riots. So it's just about, if they are going to implement closely following the activity of people that have just got out of prison in terms of terrorist threats, you have to walk that fine line of protecting the people's safety and invading their privacy.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's how they use the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah, spot on. The last one I did want to talk about, which I am a big fan of, this last one, which is community sentences for less serious crime to address underlying problems in offenders' lives. So rather than sending someone to prison, they can give them more community-based and therefore helps community in itself. And it doesn't unnecessarily
rehabilitation, like
over punishment. That
more so
Yeah.
than punishment, isn't
Attainment
it?
and punishment. Yeah.
That's what you'd rather. Like you'd rather correct someone's behavior in a way that is feasible and like more long term, and like will have an impact on them, rather than just being like, well, you did a bad thing. Here's a bad thing for you to deal with for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
Exactly.
It makes far more sense.
Exactly.
If the rehabilitation is supporting that person, then it can only be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And so, do any of you have any more positives out of this bill? Because we've run over it and we've run over what it is, and we've highlighted the positives that can come from it. But largely, there is negatives from this bill. So, if anyone, if any of you
is there longer sentences for sex offenders in it?
Yeah, crimes. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also there's no. Yeah, so it ends a policy of early prison release for most sexual and physical offenders.
Yes, people that have been involved in sexual assault or just violent crimes,
just assault,
can no longer have the early release.
Yeah, it's the serious crimes bit I spoke about. Like, this is what I said about when you chuck things together with the ambiguity of what is a serious crime. Yes, there are serious crimes that need more time for doing, but there's also things you class as a serious crime, which aren't that serious, in all honesty. So
to go back to what you said, Luke, like with regards like sexual assault and stuff like that, there's nothing that's been implemented to do more in that sense. Like the bill was not actually changed or like increased sentences for rapists or like stalkers or people that batter and abuse women. Like there's been no implementation or new implementations to increase sentences or anything new with regard to that. So whereas like they've made a stride to keep people in jail for longer, they've not actually like harshened the punishment for there's no prevention.
And that's the thing is when you look at the bill as a whole, it doesn't really focus on human rights. It just focuses more on even the good ones, even the good parts of the clause. They push towards a police state. It's a lot more authoritarian stance than most of the bills that we've seen get passed, because you look at some stuff like there's even anti-homelessness measures where the people that don't have a policy of early prison release anymore, unauthorized encampment's part of that now. So if a homeless person is sleeping on the street, they can be criminalized for that because they're occupying private space without consent. And another one, well, this isn't more so a clause, it's more a fact, that there were more languages and clauses on the punishments of defacing a statue or memorial than there were language and clauses about crimes of violence or just crimes regardless motivated by misogyny or motivated by any form of like sexual hate.
Yeah.
So these are the things that like we need to worry about. It's not that like she's just trying to punish the good people or the bad people. She's trying to punish everyone, regardless of what your political stance is. This bill is dangerous for
in general, that like there's too many like laws or like things within the bill that would just hand too much power to the police and like leave too much down to the discretion of the police. Like that moves on to like how it affects the right to protest, I guess. And like I'll let Mike take over from that because he's got the strongest view on it.
Yeah, I said to the boys beforehand that I don't want to get too involved because I don't want to say anything that's going to make me unemployable in the future.
Just let it out, bro.
Basically, I am the most they all explained to me about how the word liberal is bad nowadays. I didn't know that, but I am.
Oh no, we didn't say it. We didn't say
we didn't say it was bad,
but it's
the connotation
misinterpreted
that
over
comes
time.
with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
the definition of liberal is the what fucking hell, I'm stumbling over my words here.
The definition of liberal is not what it used to be. It's more.
Well,
Yeah.
the definition of liberal, the dictionary definition of liberal is still the same, but society's perception of what they like deem liberal is very different to what it actually is.
Yeah. So anyway, I am an old school. If you look up the ideology of liberalism, I am an old school liberal. I'm very leftist as well. So the two do largely go hand in hand, but you can get some right wing liberals, which I can understand. But but my core belief, and it always is, if you watch back all the old pods, not that I'm expecting anyone to, but I will always say, no matter what it is that we're talking about, you cannot censor people because it causes fucking problems. And then as soon as you do that, it's going to make people angry at the fact they're being censored. So what you're doing now is you've got this whole police state which they're trying to introduce. So you've got people that are angry about this and that. And I use the example of Mark Duggan and how the police were at fault for all of the protests that were going on there. And what they're going to do now is the police could say, well, it was, they won't admit guilt ever, but they can say, right, to kind of cover it up and do whatever, they can say, right, you guys can only protest for 1 hour a day and it's got to be a silent protest, this and that. And then what's going to happen from that is you're going to see what happened in Bristol, where people who would have been silently protesting or peacefully protesting, at least marching, doing whatever, they're going to get so angry because the police are going to try and enforce what they're doing, and they're going to. And it's always police agitation that causes these things. People seem to really overlook that. It's always the police involvement that causes these things to kick off. And as soon as that happens now, what would have been peaceful beforehand will now become violent, and people will kick off because they're angry, and it's a match that sparks in a room full of gas. And this is the problem, is that this is now going to cause more problems than it's going to bring good in terms of protesting, because like I said, people will be angry at what they're saying, what they're doing, and whatever, and then it's all just going to kick off. And who can blame anyone for that? If it was your close family member or someone you're close to or this and that got affected by it, a horrible thing happened to them, and you were out protesting and the police said you don't have the right to do this anymore. Excuse me? Like what? No, that's not it may be legal for them to do that, but it's been shown throughout history that legality does not equal morality throughout history, the whole time. And so you're going to get all these people that are so angry, and then you're going to see things like happen in Bristol where something's going to happen, and it only takes one person, and then it all kicks off. So when you start having police impose, and I've been to protests before where it's been completely peaceful, but the mood of anger and the overwhelming atmosphere of anger, it could so easily kick off if the wrong thing happens. And by allowing the police to do this, it is literally just waiting for it to happen, because no one is going to stop protesting because of this. This is not what's going to happen. You're never going to stop protests because people will protest against the bill, for fuck's sake. It's always going to happen. So why are you trying to restrict people on what they're doing and their freedom than and enforcing this police state which is just so authoritarian and just wrong? And it's just so confusing to me, because it is just going to cause more problems than solutions. And it's fucking
yeah, spot on, man. Like it is bang on.
Yeah.
Giving the police the control to restrict and stop protests on grounds of noise and like disturbance is insane, because protests are just categorically generally noisy and disrupt things. Like that is the whole aim of a protest, is to gain attention, right? So by doing that, no matter how offensive we find the protest, it is within people's rights to protest whatever they want to protest. And if you give the police control over how people protest or when they protest, or if they can protest at all, it is fundamentally attacking our rights as citizens. And like it makes no sense. It like I said beforehand, is unequivocally like just wrong. Like there is no denying that controlling people's freedom of speech and right to protest is just bang out of order.
And the one thing I want to add on to that as well, as we spoke about it before, and I got a bit carried away there, but what we want to say as well is that the right and freedom to speak up and protest does not come without the consequence as well. Just because you have that doesn't mean it's without consequence. So if people are protesting now and they're burning police cars or public property, there is consequence to that. That's already consequence to that. It's nothing in the law saying you can do that. That's already there. That's a problem. So why are you already you're restricting people from doing things peacefully now, and legally you're restricting people? And why is that coming with a consequence? So, if you're going to get fined $2.5 grand or face jail time for going for a peaceful protest, why not make your fucking mark? You know what I mean? That's what people are going to start thinking. Why not make my mark? Fuck these guys. I'm gonna go do it anyway. I'm gonna go get arrested anyway.
Yeah, I'm well aware of the risks that I'm taking, so I might as well go wholehearted into this and just do it how I see fit. And it's only going to cause more violence, because if you can't do it peacefully without being arrested already, then where do you stand going forward?
And think about all the things in the past as well. Like the one that really comes to my mind as well is all the things that have changed. Sorry, I want to say because of protests. And things that have happened because of protests, all the great things that have happened because of protests. And the one that sticks in my mind the most is apartheid in South Africa. You get rid of those protests, you might still have apartheid in South Africa. Yeah. But if you're trying to restrict them, you might still have apartheid in South Africa. And this is basically saying the government's fuck you to us. We can say whatever, we can do whatever you want and pass whatever you want, and you can't do fuck all about it because we'll just arrest you.
Sorry.
Damn, that really hit him hard.
But that's what it seems to me. It seems like a slap in the face of people. We can do whatever you want, and if we say so, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, it's that's what I said. Like it's well, that's what all of us have said pretty much. Is it's a step towards like authoritarian police state, and it's dangerous because even if like this bill does get amended in some places where it does need amending, definitely in terms of like the right to protest and in terms of its anti-homelessness laws, unauthorized encampments shouldn't be illegal. You shouldn't be able to get fined for sleeping in a tent on the road because you are unable to afford a house in the UK's broken housing market. That shouldn't be a thing. The fact that you can get fined $2.5 grand for standing with picket sign and a megaphone outside Downing Street, that doesn't make sense. These are things.
The point of a protest is to cause a disturbance.
Yeah.
Is to
influence change,
to make people watch what you're doing and show how much you care about it.
Yeah.
And tightening what that disturbance means, and then punishing people more harshly because you're making too much noise at 10 p.m. at night or something like that is just restricting people's ability to protest, like Shiv said, and going towards this police. Well, I'd say there's definitely harsher police states out there in the old big old world.
Oh yeah.
But this doesn't make it not a police state.
Exactly.
Does it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Our police state is much better than.
We have
my police state's bigger than your police state.
I just wanted to go back to so I was reading an article when we started talking about this as a topic for the pod this week, and a politician called Kerry McCarthy said in the summer we saw how the right to protest brought cities together, with the BLM marches, right?
Yeah.
It's such a powerful tool that can help bring people together, but now it's very much used, protests are now seen by the government as a way to just wage their war on woke people. She said this government is now doing the exact opposite of what happened in the summer. When the community secretary writes an op-ed for the Telegraph saying, "We will save Britain's statues from the woke militants who want to censor our past," we know what this is about. It is about stoking up social and cultural anxieties to win votes, seeking out not what we have in common, but what divides us, fanning the flames. And now, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Reclaim the Streets or school climate strikes, or if you just want to pay tribute to a woman by lighting a candle and holding a vigil, You are now all collateral in this government's trumped up war on woke. And that's precisely what it is. They don't want us to censor the country's past by censoring us completely, because being woke is a bad thing for some reason. Like being aware of bad things that have happened in the past is a bad thing, and making good on those. Like, tell me how that makes sense, please.
The thing is that what she said. Sorry, I fucking completely blanked on the point I was going to make there.
Okay.
What it was something to do in that quote. It's what she said. Could you just read back the quote to me, please?
The whole thing?
The second half.
Okay. We will save Britain's statues from the woke militants who want to censor our past. We know what this is about. It is about stoking up.
That's it. So that's the thing is the whole point of defacing these memorial statues and taking them down was never to censor our past. It, like, everyone knows what Britain's past is. Everyone knows about imperialism and colonialism. We're just trying to shed light on what actually happened, because we learn about all the good things that this stuff did, but we never learn about the atrocities that it caused, and that's what we're trying to like do by
it's just bringing to
Absolutely
light the bad that came with the good. Let's
Yeah.
not negate all the bad that happened just because it
censorship was never.
Let's keep it completely balanced. You know.
Yeah,
We're
censorship was
trying to
never
do
on the agenda for the people tearing down these statues.
This is it. This is the spot on. They were actually trying to do the opposite of censorship. What they are trying to do, what the government are trying to do, is censor the past. They are trying to block out things that happened in order to show, oh, look, Britain had such a great future. We had all this prosperity.
It's
but
anything
how
that
did you get that?
Yeah, it's anything that stains the glory that is Britain in the notorious past of the British Empire. Like, it's all fine and well. Yes, Britain has done some amazing things. Brilliant. But make the public aware that with this brilliance was absolute turmoil in some countries because of how they were treated. That's all people want. They just want recognition. And that in itself is not censorship.
Yeah, that ignorance, that censorship on their part probably holds us back.
It creates ignorance in the public, and that's what creates that division, because it's not willful ignorance. Well, for some people it is, but for the most part it is not willful ignorance, because they're just believing what they've been taught in school, and you are going to be more inclined to believe what you've been brought up to believe rather than radical new ideas that the founding fathers that built your country and the people that made your country great today did actually cause these atrocities. So because of this like divide in information, there's such a political divide in the adult population in the country, and I feel like the only way to fix that is to educating the youth. Educating your youth is just the most important thing we can do right now, and that's why we need to focus on doing exactly what they were trying to do by defacing these statues. It'll just shed light on what actually happened, good and bad, in the British Empire. Both are worth highlighting. When they see that the results of these protests is that all of this has been uncovered and all of this was kept under wraps, it will be a lot more united. Well, I hope it would be a lot more uniting after the fact. But until that actually happens, we're just going to have to try our best to educate anyone else.
Did we touch on how the bill wanted to increase time in prison for defacing statues, etc.?
Yeah, do you want to touch on that, Phil? Because you said that about basically with Sarah Everard and everything that's happened, and you would think that you would have an increased agenda on trying to protect women, but Phil has pointed something out which is really fucking disturbing in the bill. So
it's the thing that we're just they're claiming that the censorship that the protest is trying to cause is what they're combating, but no protest has ever been done to censor something like that. Well, that's not true. That's just not true, is it?
Oh no,
there have definitely been protests calling for censorship. Yeah,
largely,
they definitely have.
But largely, the whole point of protesting is making noise on something, not censoring.
To bring the whole point of a protest is to cause a disruption, to bring awareness to what's actually happening in the situation, because the oppressors never protest. It's always the oppressed societal group in the society that will protest, and they will protest to create a disruption to get, well, people in positions of authority and people in third party positions who are coming at it from a neutral angle to get more of a grasp of what's happening, so that more people know and more people can do something about it. And with this bill to kill the right to protest, people are going to be just unable to voice their opinions whenever they feel unheard. And if that wasn't already the case for oppressed groups in the UK in terms of ethnic minorities, and especially women in the Sarah Everard case, where their right to peaceful protest was shut down as well. So the more this goes on and the more we delve deeper into stopping people's individual rights to protest, the more we will be censoring people and the more it will divide people. Because like Mike said, the protests, or was it Mike or Shiv that said it? The protests in the summer, the BLM protests, united cities.
Yeah.
And if you stop that and you stop people talking about what they care about, how people are going to empathize with each other within their own societies, how am I going to appreciate your struggles if I don't know what's going on in your life because you aren't able to voice your opinion on it?
Yeah.
And that's just going to create more ignorance and more division within society.
That's not the point I was actually talking about, but you've made a very good point.
I went on a bit of a tangent because I didn't completely know what I was meant to be talking about.
No, I was just going to talk about how now this bill, if it's passed, is that you can be punished for 10 years of jail, up to 10 years of jail time for defacing statues, right? But which would make it theoretically possible for someone to be more harshly punished for that than it is for rape. And for me, considering everything we've just gone through in the last week or so with the Sarah Everard protest, vigil even, and like the whole ordeal with that, it just seems like a completely missed opportunity for the government to really do something on a topic that needs fixed, like genuinely so badly.
You know that there's something following up that's gonna.
You would think there needs to be, wouldn't there?
Yes, yeah. It does need to be.
If you can be punished more severely for defacing a statue than for raping a woman, what does that say for our respect and for our value of women in our society? Yeah. And that is deeply, deeply worrying.
Troubling.
And you know, and the crazy thing is as well is it's so worrying that you want to protect the statue of some old racist bloke more than women. Yeah, the bill is just fucked up. The whole thing's fucked up. Or not the whole thing actually, like I said, but there are some positive points.
It's very bittersweet, man. It's very more bitter than it is sweet, but it is bittersweet.
I mean, we can give the closing words to Luke because Luke hasn't said too much. Luke, what's your overall?
What did I say during the first thing? That was good. Can't remember now. I did say some good things that we didn't.
You said some marvelous things, mate. Do you know what? We'll remember that. We'll remember that.
yeah. We need to do like behind the scenes stuff. What do I want to say? I want to say that the bill is dangerous, and that if there was trust in the government at the moment, then people would still be worried about it, but maybe a bit less. But because of the current climate and all the shit that the government have got away with over the last year and year plus, long time, that there's just no trust in the fact that even if it was a good thing and they're going to implement it perfectly, I don't believe that they're going to do that.
No,
I think they'll be used in
an abuse of power
ways to silence people that the government don't agree with.
Spot on.
If a protest, so what Preet Patel said, let's focus on that, where she said, got to find a balance between the rights of everyday people and the rights of the protesters. Just imagine you're a normal person going about your daily life, and you you're inconvenienced by a protest, you should be like aware enough to say, oh, that's a bit annoying, but we live in a society where people can protest and it might inconvenience my day every now and again. Probably not going to happen every day of my life, but this is happening. This is somebody who, well, a group of people that care enough about something to like inconvenience themselves, if anything, to raise a point.
Yeah.
And we should just listen. We shouldn't just like it's gonna happen. We can be pissed off, but the right for the protester doesn't change in that instance.
Obviously, when Luke speaks, did everyone notice how fucking how silent we were then as well, listening to him? Luke, you hold a room, mate. But
it's like a wise, it's the wise old man.
Yeah, that's me. That's why I literally I said, well, I want to get the closing words to him because I knew he was going to say something fucking good.
Yeah, all the pauses are accidental. It's because I'm tired.
So
that's it.
What I just want to add on to Luke's, and Shiv just said it as well. And it's the thing is that if you think that a protest is inconvenient for you, right? Like Shiv said a second ago, you need some self-reflection because there's what people are protesting for is far bigger than, I was 10 minutes late to work, or I was 10 minutes late to the pub or something like that. Like, there's people that have to go through shit every single day of their life out of just due to, just absolute fucked up. I can't think of the word, but just shit that's fucked up, like things like racism, sexism, things like that. Things that
civil rights and human rights issues.
Yeah, real fucking issues which shouldn't be a thing, and people have to go through that every single day of their life, and you're mildly annoyed because of you were inconvenienced once, when people go through 100 times worse every day. So like, if you are one of those people and you happen to be watching this, seriously self-reflect, like seriously, like think about what the fuck you're thinking about and put yourself in the shoes of other people.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of being empathetic, isn't it? Like it's all well and good being inconvenienced and being annoyed by that, but you have to like look at the long term, at the bigger picture. There's a reason these protests are going on, and the reason for them protesting shouldn't annoy you more than should annoy you more than the inconvenience. Do you know what? Let me reword that. I said that wrong. The fight that they're fighting should, like, the reasons they're fighting for, like sexism, racism, etc. Those reasons should upset you more than the annoyance of being inconvenienced by protest. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I just want to add on to that, actually, even if it's not personally affecting you. Like, I just want to take the example of the Extinction Rebellion people.
Yeah.
Like, world's getting hot, ice caps melt, bad things happen soon. Like, it's good that those people are raising that attention,
that awareness.
Because we can go on for ages and ages and just live in a little bubble until fucking the sky burns. So it's good. They've got to do stuff.
If COVID didn't wake people up to it all, global warming, that is. If they didn't see the reaction the world, the nature had to people not going outside and polluting, if that didn't wake you up to actually what happens in this world, then you are
dolphins in the canals of Venice. That is mad. Just let me clarify. That is mad.
Loose.
That is mental.
So
I
heard you could actually like go swimming in the Thames and not come out with an extra limb.
No, that still happens. There's worse stuff. It's
too far gone.
Stuff that pollution can't.
But that's the thing, is that like, while you need to remember as well, while people were protesting for a certain thing, while you disagree with what they're doing, it doesn't necessarily mean their cause isn't they're not fighting for the correct cause.
I mean, and that's something that like I feel like the four of us should probably look at as well within ourselves, because we have taken the piss out of these anti-lockdown protesters a bit, but But
Everyone has a right to protest at the end of the
everyone
day,
has
and
the
that's
right
exactly
to
what we've
protest,
just
and they
spoken about.
really feel like their human rights are being infringed because they're not able to leave their house.
Yeah.
So if they really want to do that, more power to them.
And also,
Yeah.
you need to bear in mind it's also in a way a protest on mental health as well. Because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I found out that there might be a third lockdown or fourth lockdown or whatever the fuck it is at this
I
point,
read something about a third
was-
wave coming today. I
couldn't do it.
Lord.
I think I just thought I can't do it. I actually can't do it anymore.
This lockdown that we've had since January has easily been the hardest mentally for me,
Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah.
Weather and all of the other factors, it's just it would be dumb of us to deny that mental health has not taken a massive kick in through this lockdown, and they have every right. Like Mike said, being liberal means that you're allowed to say what you want. Like, we're not censoring people, and like people should have the right to say whatever they want, whether or not we view it as correct.
We can also
That's
take the piss,
fine.
though. We can also take the piss.
We can also take the
Take the
piss.
piss.
And like, as long as you're not
It's not bringing harm to the life. In fact,
or
No,
not being
true. We're
hateful.
not actively stopping them doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Like, as long as you're not being hateful, you have the right to protest what you feel is correct. Like, there's a difference between protesting for anti-lockdown and being a white supremacy protester.
Yeah,
Two very different
doing
things.
EDL stuff. Yeah.
Like,
That's a really good
wanting
point, actually.
to be out of the house because you either don't believe in coronavirus or it's affecting your mental health. One of those is a problem, but it's not a violent problem, so I'm going to let it slide.
yeah, I mean,
Are we allowing, because you don't think coronavirus is real? Are we allowing that as a reason for people to go to anti-lockdown marches?
I don't like it, but I'm going to let it slide.
But we have
I want
science,
Fawaz
man. We have
to be Home
actual
Secretary.
science.
I mean, let's not get into the logistics of like, racist protests and stuff like that, because we all know that's fucking wrong, and that's
but the point I'm trying to make is, as long as you're not causing anyone any harm or you're not being hateful towards any specific person or group, you should have the right to speak your mind and stand up for what you believe in.
There you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
bang on.
Yeah, and even from a liberal perspective, like I said, everything has a consequence. Everything has a consequence. So if you are one of the people that feels like you can go to a UKIP rally or EDL rally, there's going to be comebacks on you. And like we said, it's the fucking wrong thing to do. And there will be comebacks on you, and it really will not be good, because it means that you are a cunt. In other words, I don't think I've ever used that word on the podcast, but I will use it to describe the EDL. You are a bunch of cunts. So yeah, I mean, in closing, what I wanted to say is, if people care so much about public property and that, why not tax the fucking rich? Just get them to pay for it. It's not the end of the world.
The bank of taxing the rich. Nice.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, we can burn it down. They can pay for it. They got enough money. So I think that's everything we wanted to touch on, really. Like I said, we're going to keep it concise. We're not going to go fucking 4 or 5 topics deep. We just want to do one topic and keep it concise. Hopefully, this has been around 40 to 45 minutes, so it's much more watchable for people. Ghost Stream Revolution's called in by Mitts. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed. Go watch it, go share it, do your thing, and until then, we're out. Also, go follow the Spotify and Instagram. It's all down below. Cool.
J-Links Euro 2020.
Big up making that England record.
First time to make Europe. You heard it here first.
Right, in a bit.